Welcome to the Authentic Man podcast. I am your host, David Chambers. This is a podcast for men who want more and less from life. More deep connection, more emotional intelligence, more self-awareness, and more great sex. And less heartache, less conflict, less overthinking, and less stress. Creating dating lives, sex lives, and relationships that are incredible and authentic. My deepest goal is that you, the listener, can take away what you hear in this podcast and apply it to your life so that you can experience greater happiness, transformational growth, deeper relationships, and profound sexual intimacy. I believe that as men, we are capable of so much more depth than we are shown or led to believe. So join me as we get deep into this. Welcome back to another episode of the Authentic Man podcast. I'm your host, David Chambers. I'm a men's dating, relationship, and intimacy coach. Also a couples coach. I work with my partner also, as well as I really help men with masculinity as well, which is something that's becoming more and more of a thing. And connection, that's really what I'm about. How men can connect better. Be that through online dating, in-life dating, relationships, intimacy, sex, with themselves as well, emotionally. That's the business and game that I'm playing with men. And in this episode, I'm joined by the founder of Hey Saturday, Saskia, someone I've known for a while actually through Instagram and through the dating world, and she is an absolute fountain of knowledge in the area of online dating photos. In fact, you could argue that she created a whole new genre of business around online dating, taking online dating photos of people, and now operates out of multiple countries, all over the UK, multiple cities in the UK as well as LA and New York. And she's a wonderful person to talk to. She's great fun. This episode is very upbeat. It's full of tips, actually, full of tips and help with getting your online dating photos absolute top-notch, high quality, that can really aid you in the dating process. Because let's be honest, when it comes to online dating, your bio is important, but your photos are the most important thing. People spend, I think it's less than like half a second looking at photos. So getting your photos in a good place is potentially the most important thing you could do when it comes to your online dating profile. And as we talk about in the episode, and something I speak to my clients and say a lot is, when you have not great photos, poor quality photos, what does that say about who you are and how you would treat a potential partner and the level of attention that you might put on them and the relationship? That says a lot. And it also shows your level of awareness, your self-awareness. Like if you're not self-aware enough to see the importance of photos or even be able to read the importance of visual imagery, what else is outside of your awareness that could affect a relationship and a partner? These are very subtle things, but very important. And I see this a lot with men that I work with, actually, is around expanding that awareness into, visuals, what things look like, how things make you feel. And we get into that in the episode. We talk a lot about the common mistakes that people make when it comes to online dating photos. We talk about what photos work really well, what the importance of a visual story. We talk about that. We talk about the importance of color and backgrounds and feeling. We talk about how you can make someone feel something through looking at your photos, something positive, something happy, something uplifting that you might want them to be there. What sort of clothes you should be wearing in your pictures that you choose for your profile. And we talk about the future of dating profile pictures. Like, where's the future going? Where are we shifting into? How are they changing? What's the history? How dating profile pictures changed over time as well? And we also touch probably early on in the episode about our personal experiences with online dating and our online dating photos. Way back when we, I'm imagining Saskia is about similar age to myself, when we first started online dating and our experience and how that has changed, because I think that's also an important thing to see, what has shifted. And like I said, it's full of wonderful stories in here in terms of like, you know, bad photos, some odd requests that she's received, as she's received to her, some of her photographers that work for her. There's an interesting part as well in there, and yeah, just like what it says about you when you don't have good photos, and also the energy that you bring to your photos affects how the photos show up and how they can be felt by other people. So I'm not going to go on for too much longer. I haven't got any events or programs coming up, other than, actually, I guess the one thing I have got coming up, which might be relevant to people, is something called Relationship School, which I'm running with my partner Orsa. That is going to be in September and October, once a week. It's an 8-week program for couples and singles who want to really create deep and meaningful connections in their lives and learn how to relate in a way that actually fosters beautiful relationships and doesn't foster relationships where you're dysfunctional, you're shouting, you're upset, and you know, you're just not getting along well. We want to teach you how to relate well. And it's some of the stuff we're going to teach in there is very unconventional. It's not the stuff that you're seeing people talk about on Instagram or maybe what you were taught as a kid from looking at your parents, but it's stuff that actually works, actually helps you relate. We've got limited places on that. So if you're interested in that, please contact me. I'll put some details about that in the show notes, because, you know, it's all well and good getting good at dating, but once you get good at dating, you need to be good at relating. And actually, that's the real starting point, isn't it? Because dating might only last, you know, a few months, a few years, but then being in a relationship potentially, and hopefully maybe something you want is the rest of your life. So learning how to do that well is probably even more important than dating. But without further ado, let's get into the episode. So back with another episode, ladies and gentlemen, and one that I've been wanting to record for a while. This wonderful woman has actually been on my list of potential guests for, I think, a couple of years, maybe. I think we've had some conversations on Instagram, and I feel like we've known each other a long time. And I know she's been in the world of dating for a long time, and is well seasoned in this world of online photos, which has evolved, I think, massively. Maybe that's a conversation we'll have as well today. And today I'm joined by Saskia Nelson. She is the founder of Hey Saturday, and she's also a photographer.
Hi, thank you for having me. That's a lovely introduction. And yeah, it's been great. You've been on my radar for probably a couple of years now, I would say. And yeah, I enjoy seeing what you're up to and what you're doing. Very important work. And I think, I mean, when I started Hey Saturday, it was back in 2013, and there was no one like you out there. And yeah, it's just wonderful to see how much dating is changing and what people are doing out there to kind of help people along their way. So. Yeah.
2013 would have been a very different era of dating, you know, online dating apps sort of kind of in their infancy, really.
I think Tinder came out either 2012 or 2013, so around about the same time, probably 2012. So yeah, it was before that. It was kind of dating websites and, you know, Guardian Soulmates, and yeah, I've been there through this massive transition, I think.
Yeah,
sure.
Going back to the days of Plenty of Fish.
Yeah, and written bios like in newspapers, like adverts. No, not really. I'm not that old.
I was recently reminiscing of a friend of mine. Actually, we were talking about Plenty of Fish, and we were like, remember, you used to have to go to the website, like log in, and it was kind of like an email client almost, like, and you could message anybody. And I've explained this to someone a bit younger, and he was like, what? So you could just, if you saw a girl you liked, you could just send her a message, like, yeah, you could just do that. And they were like, wow, like, that's amazing. Like, yeah, this whole matching thing wasn't part of it, you know. Plenty of Fish.
Yeah, not at all. You were in control, definitely.
Yeah, you were free.
But then what that does is you get too much choice, don't you? And you're just like overwhelmed, going, oh my God. And I remember back then it was a lot of people were like really embarrassed. So it's all like, I don't know why I'm on here, and like, you know, all this sort of stuff. It's like, just get over it and just, you're on there, do it. Stop going on about like, oh, this is really embarrassing, you know. So that is, for me, the most positive thing is that kind of sense of shame. There was a huge sense of shame around it, like having to actually use dating websites. And, you know, when I launched Hey Saturday, you know, people wouldn't say that, you know, they wouldn't tell anyone that they were going to have their photos taken. It was like a really different mood and era. It's quite weird to remember it now. So yeah, I love the fact that it's like zero shame now. It's like, of course, everyone does it. It's completely normal. But back then it was, you whispered it and didn't tell anyone. And men certainly didn't talk about it. A man would never say, I'm on a dating app or a dating site. I think even now some of my male clients don't, wouldn't tell their friends what they're doing.
Yeah. It was, I remember a friend of mine told me about Plenty of Fish, and it was before Tinder existed, actually. So it was probably going back 12 or 13 years. And he really took me, I was like to him, man, you're going on a lot of dates recently. He was like, yeah. I was like, how are you meeting all these women? And he literally, we were in the gym and he was like, I'll tell you when we're walking out. I was like, okay.
Oh.
So we were walking out the gym and he's like, okay, I want to tell you something. Yeah. He's like, but you can't tell anyone about this. We need to keep this a secret between us. And I was like, okay. And then he like opened up his phone and then went to the website. Or did we go back to his place? No, I think he opened up his phone and he showed me the website. And I was like, whoa, what's this? He's like, it's like online dating. Women, they have pictures and they have a bio and you can message them. And I was like, wow, this is it blew my mind. And I remember then using it. And I think that one of the most interesting things for me was I'd go on dates with women and we'd sit and talk after you've been messaging a bit, and then you sit and talk and they'd be like, why are you on a dating app? You don't seem like you need to be here. And I'm like, no, I don't need to be here, but it's quite nice to use something different. And they'd be like, but you're not weird or anything. A lot of the guys I've met are a bit weird. And you go,
that is it. Everyone just expects you to be weird when you're on dating apps back then. Totally.
Yeah. But I'm interested in, Saskia, is what was your journey to start Hey Saturdays? What was it? What brought you to do that?
Well, I used to work in the corporate world, I suppose, in CSR, corporate social responsibility. So my day job was kind of quite high pressured. I was connected with a lot of companies, and my boss, I was working for this kind of regeneration agency connecting these companies, and my boss was kind of looking at me to take more of a leadership role in the senior management team. And in my heart, I was thinking, it's not what I want to do. That kind of, when you really listen to yourself. I could have gone chugging on if he hadn't kind of expressed this interest in lifting me up. And he was expecting me to be like really overjoyed. And I was like, this isn't actually me. And so I kind of, it was that moment of him kind of pushing me and me pulling back and him getting cross because I wasn't as excited as he wanted me to be. I kind of thought I need to face the reality. So I decided that I would leave and set up on my own. And in my head, I was of childbearing age back then. So all my friends were kind of going off and doing maternity, and I never had kids. So I was kind of like, I could do this. This is like, I can have my maternity and just take time off and find myself a bit. And it was a risk, but I was like, I'll do it anyway. And at the time, I was really into photography, and the kind of photography that really excited me was shooting people, models, things like that. I absolutely loved it. So I was kind of thinking I want to do something with photography. And when I looked around, lots of photographers were all doing wedding photography, or they were all doing all their websites looked the same, and they were all doing events and weddings and blah, blah, blah. And I was kind of like, okay, none of that's speaking to me. But everyone kept sort of saying to me, oh, are you going to be a wedding photographer? And it was that question that made me think, well, no, because I've never been married. Although I am getting married this year, but I wasn't into marriage at all. And it was kind of just like, and I didn't like, the thought of weddings was like, that's so stressful. That's not a fun job. But that question made me think, well, I don't know anything about weddings, but I know a lot about online dating because I've been doing a lot of online dating at the time, about 9 years on and off. I suppose it was my primary way. Like when I started dating, like in the early 2000s, and I was just like you said earlier, my mind was blown that you could connect with people in this really exciting way. And it's like, previously it'd been like, I have to go to bars and I have to whatever, and your world is very limited to where you are based and like the kind of people you're mixing with. Suddenly this whole world of people opened up, and I was just like, this is just incredible. And I still feel like that about online dating. I think it's such an amazing tool for connecting with just anyone. And when you use it correctly, you can start tailoring who you're connecting to more like meaningfully. So yeah, that really excited me. So that kind of gave me that like, okay, I could do photo shoots for dating app profiles, because at the time I'd obviously spent a long time looking at men's photos and we're going back a long way, but I don't know how much has changed really. But yeah, they were bad. There was like the whole webcam, like men just sitting on their bed staring at their webcam. This was basically all it was. Like back then, that's all we had. They'd have a massive pile of dirty washing behind them, like really, like, you know, plastic bags next to the bed, like stacks of tins of beer and this sort of thing. And I was kind of like, that is like how are you expected to meet women with these photos? That is just so unattractive. And so I kind of thought, no, there's room for something to happen here. There's a space here where you can do something quite exciting. And I also worked at Sky in the comms department in my career history at that point, and I'd learned a lot from them about how to use visual imagery to like tell a powerful story. And they were really good. Sky will just use one massive, very strong, powerful image, and then maybe have 3 words at the bottom, like believe in better or whatever. And you learn so much from this big, powerful image. And I thought, well, imagine if you could do that with your dating app profiles. And so that was kind of where the idea came from. I kind of did it as an experiment to see, well, can I do like Sky does with people who are on dating apps? Like, where can I take this? And so I think back then it was very much focused on what people looked like. So it was kind of like, you need to capture people looking really good, like, because everyone's using blurry photos, or, you know, out of date, like just low quality, like everyone used low quality. It was a horrible space to be in. And at the time I was looking at lots of beautiful blogs with great photos and imagery, even back then. And so I'm like, well, I want to have that experience when I'm looking for something that's the most important thing in my life, a life partner. But instead I'm looking at these like low quality, low rent photos, and it's really depressing. So I was kind of like, imagine if you could you know, create these amazing photos for these guys that are powerful, strong, bold, colorful, vibrant, dynamic, you know, like what's going to happen to their dating life. So that was kind of, it was an experiment. And I Googled it and no one else was doing it, like literally anywhere in the world. And I was like, okay, that's weird. But then when I started telling people what I was doing, everyone just went, oh, well, anyone who was single just went, oh my God, that is so good. Married people would be like, huh? Like, what are you talking about? And I was like, yeah, don't worry about it. You know, I'd sit at dinner parties next to married couples and they had no idea what I was doing in my life. But as soon as I got next to a single person who was dating, they were like, oh my God, I love that. And so I knew I had something, like the responses, the reactions I was getting were just like fantastic. So yeah, I started off just me for a year and built it up very slowly. And no one obviously was searching dating photos. It wasn't a thing. Like, we're going back into the old days there. And so I had to start talking about it, like, dating photos, these are really important. Like, the better, you know, they are, the more bold they are, the more better quality, the better you look, obviously the more attraction you're going to get. And so I started blogging for all the dating apps, the dating sites like eHarmony, all the ones that were big back then, eHarmony, match.com, all those elite singles, all those kind of dating app giants back then, and just started telling them this is what's what. And so, and then from there, like I started getting press interest. And so, yeah, a year later after I launched, I got an article in the Evening Standard and it just took off massively. Like, it was on page 13, which was basically in the news section, which I was just blown away by. I don't know why it was like news, but anyway, I liked it. You know, it was great. It was amazing publicity for me. I literally, the phone didn't stop ringing. The website started creaking with like attention, and I took on another photographer, and then it's just grown from there. It just kind of, I got lots of articles in the press back then, and and then I think in 2015 I launched in New York, and then 2017 LA, and 2018 Austin, and yeah, it's just kind of grown, and it's spread to the major cities in England as well. So yeah, it's and now it's completely normal thing to do. Like everyone kind of just goes, oh, online dating, yeah, I need to get some photos, my photos are shit, you know, like it's kind of just, and all the dating kind of experts and coaches and matchmakers are all kind of saying, yeah, you need good profile photos. But back then that wasn't the case. It wasn't even, I don't think people even really gave it much thought. A lot of attention was paid to the bios back then, but not the photos per se. I think it was a case of you dig through your album, have a look at what's in there and use that. And I know there's still some very old school people who think like that, but gradually, you know, a lot of our clients are probably in their 40s and 50s as well. It's just younger people who are like, actually, I haven't had a decent photo since, you know, 2005, so maybe I need to get on the case. You know, they realize they can't have photos that are like 10 years out of date and all this sort of stuff. So yeah. Wow. That was basically how it came about. Just an experiment.
You created a whole genre of business that didn't exist, you know, because I can relate and remember back to those old photos. I remember the days when the bio was everything, you know, like what you wrote, like getting someone to make sure it was grammatically correct and all these sorts of things was the thing. And I wonder, and you probably think the same thing maybe, is like as people's attention spans have waned, because when we went from the computer and laptop to the phone, our attention spans have got shorter and shorter because we're bombarded with more images. Over the course of that, as it sounds like the photo has become more and more important over that same period of time.
Oh, absolutely. It's been a massive journey, I think. And yeah, like you say, literally people, I think it was with Tinder, when Tinder became so big, and because in the old days you used to scroll down pages, right, on the website, and then suddenly Tinder, you're just kind of swiping like within a fraction of seconds, swipe. So when you're trying to attract attention with someone who's just swiping at like the speed of, you know, 10 a second or something, your photos have so much work to do. I mean, at the end of the day, no one's even going to look at your bio until something's grabbed their attention. So there's a lot of pressure on getting the photos right, I guess, now, which certainly wasn't the case back then. So yeah, the attention, our attention spans have shrunk, and so yeah, the photos are just so much more important and have so much work to do now.
I thought a good place to start before we get into like all the ways you can make your photos great is, I still see from the men that come to me to work with me a lot of really bad photos, right? And I'll caveat this with that I also did study a diploma in photography. So I spent a year learning about photography. I spent a couple of years traveling.
Brilliant.
So I went out my way to learn about photography, not for dating, just out of my own interest. So I learned.
So you know what's what, you know what looks good. Yeah.
And I noticed that a lot of men's photos, in particular men, I'm not, you know, I have a feeling why most men's photos are really bad, are terrible. And many women's photos are also terrible. But I'm interested in from your point of view as a, you know, the foremost expert actually on this, is what are some of the common mistakes that people make when it comes to their online dating photography?
I think, I mean, there are a lot of mistakes or not mistakes, things to avoid now that you are more like informed, I would say. So, I mean, my top one is like poor quality images. So, you know, if you look at the world we're living in now, if you're still using, I don't know how many you see, but if you're still using clients who if you're still seeing clients who have like poor quality images, then the chances of them attracting high quality dates are probably slim to nothing, right? Because if you think about it, if you went to a shop, this is how I describe it to people. If you went to two online shops and they both sell the same thing at the same price, but one has beautiful photography and one has low rent, fuzzy, blurred shots, it's kind of like, you know where you're going, right? You're going to the beautiful photography shop. It's the same with dating. Why would someone choose someone with blurry, out of date photos when there's someone else who's got really nice ones? And I think the reason for this is because it says like you believe you're high value, you believe you're good quality, you believe you're worth it, you're investing in yourself to have these great photos. If you're choosing to put low quality photos on, it's basically giving the message that this isn't important to me. Maybe it's even saying, I don't think I'm worth it, you know. And it also gives the message that this isn't, it's not important to me, so I don't value this. And like, if someone's seriously looking for love, then they're going to go for someone who places a value on their photos. If someone's looking for a hookup, then they're probably going to think the high value person isn't going to go for them, so they're going to go for the person with low quality photos. So that's how I see it. High quality photos equals attracting a high quality mate, partner, potential partner, but low quality photos, you're going to attract hookups. And so when you see it in that way, clients suddenly start going, oh, okay, yeah, I get this. This is important. If I'm serious about love, I don't want to be giving out the message that I don't value this and that hookups are fine with me, So that's like my number one kind of messaging that I try and get across to clients who ask me that question. Another thing that another mistake, definitely, and that happens a lot, pretty much on everyone's, is including, well, I don't like having any of them, but having group shots. So some people would just have loads of group shots, and lots of dating experts actually say include a group shot, and that's fine. I have face blindness, so for me personally, I see that totally as a waste of a shot. And actually, like, your profile, you get 5 to 6 photos, and it needs to be, there needs to be a set that are working really hard for you. Remember, everyone's swiping super fast, and if they're attracted to yours, then they're going to swipe through all of them. And so every photo needs to be saying something, doing something, sharing something important about you. But I think everyone assumes that people have friends, so I don't think you need to necessarily use up one of your shots to tell people that you have friends. And then when you bear in mind that your friends might not be their kind of person, or they might fancy your mate more, or you're kind of putting all these obstacles in the way that don't need to be there. Or they're going to see it and go, oh, which one is the one? And it's like, I can't be bothered to figure out who it is. You've lost their attention. So group shots, I am not a fan of at all. And people still use them, and that's fine. But for me, I think you're kind of really wasting a shot. And then along with it, while we're talking about other people in the shot, lots of people like to include, or not lots, but still some people like to include photos of their kids. And for me, I think that's not the place to introduce your partner to your kids. I think maybe a first date, if things are going well, I'm not saying don't tell them you've got kids. You can do that in your bio, but you don't need to show your kids, because you don't know who's on dating apps. There's all sorts of creeps on there, right? It's just not appropriate, I don't think. And then you also get people who have photos of themselves with other people's kids, and I'm kind of like, oh no, I'm thinking, that person's really not gonna, the mother of that child isn't going to be happy to think you're using them on a dating app. So just think really carefully before you start bringing other people into it. So that's kind of, and if you have like ex-partners, like when it's just you and one other person, especially like if you're straight, if it's someone of the opposite sex, that kind of thing, then basically people's heads start going places like, oh, that person's hot, I wonder if they're in a relationship, or maybe they're just mates, but they're so, and there's all this negativity coming in. Like, people start thinking negative stuff, going, well, what's actually happening here? And do you want to create that? And what you're wanting to do is bring people in, get them excited about your profile, and not have them just already thinking, oh, that girl's really pretty, or I don't think I want to go there because she looks like she's really hot, and I would be jealous. Or so just avoid other people in the shot, I would say, and you use your 5 to 6 shots to say something about you, make you the focus of the shot. What other things do I think are mistakes? I would say, like, when you can't see the face very clearly, so you kind of get a lot of people who have kind of me up a mountain shot. It's great, but also we've all seen that kind of shot a lot of times, so there's nothing really interesting about it. So can you do the upper mountain shot but in a different way? So maybe like you're there with your skis with the mountain in the background, but you can be really seen, like your face can be seen. It's really important that you show your face in every shot. Remember, you've only got 5 to really impress, and if they're not like seeing it, people are just, that's what they're really focusing on. What do you look like? And they're also looking at your eyes to see if you're trustworthy. So halfway up a mountain shot is just another waste of a shot, I think. There are other ways to tell people you're into skiing. It could just be holding your skis. It could be, like while you're, with the background of the mountain or whatever, but you don't need to be actually skiing necessarily if we can't see you. And then you get selfies and filters these days. So what I would say about selfies, so most of your clients are men, I would say it's a big fat no from me. Women don't find it attractive if men do it. And then for women, it's really only, I read this somewhere, I can't remember, some research that said, like, if a woman's in her 20s, then she can get away with using selfies. So sexist and, ageist, fantastic, but that's not me writing the rules. So yeah, young women, it's okay. And I think men like it because there's that, the selfie feels quite intimate, like you're making eye contact. I think guys like that kind of intimacy that you can get with a selfie. You feel like you're connecting with them, like it's quite close. But for some reason, apparently with women who are older than that, it doesn't work so well. Not sure, I can't, don't know what the research is about there. But that's just a rule of thumb. And then obviously filters, I'm obviously going to be against that. And I'm sure you are too. It's about authenticity. Why would we go down the route of using filters? I think it's really important actually to, so one of the biggest mistakes is obviously using photos that don't look anything like you are right now. So it could be age, it could be your weight, it could be like how you styled your hair, but that's probably less important unless it's a massive change. So showing who you are, what you look like in your photos as you are on the time of the day is hugely important if you want to establish a sense of trust from the get-go. And I think a lot of people still think that okay, I've lied about my age or I've lied about my weight or something, but once they get in front of me on that bar stool, they're going to love me, and I'll be really funny and amusing and da-da-da. It doesn't matter. By the time they got there, if you've deceived them before they've even sat down and got a drink in their hand, they're sitting there going, well, what else? He doesn't look anything like his photos. What else is he lying about? And that's not a great way to start any relationship. Again, it's about, like, if you're inauthentic from the beginning, then you've lost the trust straight away. Like, you have one job to do before you turn up a date, and that is look like you do in your photos. If you want to get a second date, that is literally the only way. You need to look like your photos, because you're going to lose that chance for second date, never mind anything else that's going on the actual date. So yeah, showing up like your photos is really important. And then I would say, to finish on this question, anything that's too staged, so like studio shots, for example, well, people don't actually hang out in photo studios like on a day-to-day basis, so it's not a really good way of showing who you are in an authentic setting, kind of thing. So I think it puts people off a lot. It might be great for a work photo, yep, but for a photo for your dating app, if you're in a studio, it just looks fake. And again, people are looking for reasons to find you fake and get the heck out. So yeah, don't use anything like that, and nothing too formal, obviously. So yeah, trying to keep it more relaxed. And at Hey Saturday, we love outdoor stuff actually, because I think people are a lot more relaxed when they're kind of out in the environment and there's things to distract them. They can be at a cafe with a coffee in their hand or whatever, and suddenly you can go, okay, this is something I do in my day-to-day life. This feels real. I can do this, even though the whole situation isn't real. I can do real things within this kind of fake situation. So yeah, so those are my key things to avoid.
There's a lot there. There's a lot there.
There was a lot there. There was a lot.
But there's a lot of crazy things that people do. Like, I'm going to give an example of a dating profile picture that I once saw. It was a woman, and I think her age is relevant because, you know, it's about my age. I think she's probably between like 38 and 44 or so. And one of the photos was a filter photo with like cat's ears and sparkles around it.
Yeah.
I remember looking at this and was like, a bit like what you said about Sky, you know, telling a visual story. And I was like, what fucking story is she trying to tell me with this photo? Like, what the fuck is this? You know, because it is that feeling.
Not a good one, is it?
It's not. It's like, wait a minute, what? And also the thing I always think to myself is, okay, you've used this photo as a dating profile pic. What are you hoping that people think when they see this? What are you thinking that people are going to think when they see this? Are they going to think,
that is such a good question.
Is she fun and easygoing and likes to wear cat's ears and sparkles? Or are they going to think, what the fuck is she trying to hide from me?
Yeah, I mean, and that is such a good question. And I think people don't do that enough, actually, is ask yourself, like, when you're looking at your own photos, what are people going to think and feel when they look at that photo? And that woman probably should have done that. Although, you know, maybe there are some people who'd find that attractive and they'd be her kind of people. I don't know. That's the thing. You don't know how people, you know, everyone's different. And that's what I like to say to my clients. Like, we don't want to judge people and stuff, like, because everybody is different. We don't have set rules on what they should and shouldn't do. We have like guidelines on how to be yourself, I suppose. Like, we don't say you must wear a little black dress on your, because that's what people wear on dates. We say, what would you wear? Turn up in that. And so, yeah, everybody is different. And it's important to remember that. And that, you know, maybe there are men out there who would find that really cute. But I think because it's a filter as well, and is bound to take years off her, it's probably not going to go down well. And also, yeah, like you say, I don't know how many guys would find cat's ears cute, but there might be one or two, I don't know.
And one of the other, and this is, you're talking about staged photos, and there was I don't know what era of dating photo this was, but probably you could tell me much better. There was you talked about having kids in your photos, which I actually really disagree with having your own children in there, more because I think.
Do you? That's interesting.
I don't think people should have their own children in their dating profile photos. I think
you don't think so? Okay.
No.
Yeah.
Because ultimately, I'm gonna put it really honestly, people are looking for a reason to say no. Right? Mm-hmm. And kids, unfortunately, are still a very easy reason for people to go, I'd rather not date someone with kids, especially if you don't have kids, right? That's something that a lot of people, that's a really common thing that I've seen with my own clients, or even speaking to women I know, is like, someone with children, I don't want to get involved in that, right? So having your children in the photo can be, and I say can be a big negative. And one of the other stage photos I started to see a lot of was man and a dog.
Yes. Yeah. But that is because that's because there's like been loads of press about it, I think, and it's gone mad. So we have a lot of clients bring in their dogs, but the key is make it your own dog. Like, if you're with someone else's dog, then that's basically dog fishing, right? So you have to it's been massive. There's been loads of research saying like men with dogs is like really great, because it shows that they're loving and caring and can look at, I mean, it's a bit patronizing, really. I'm sure most men can be loving and caring and, you know, look after people and things. So it's a little bit playing into that kind of masculine, feminine kind of thing going on there, I think. But we've noticed quite an uplift in men with their dogs. I quite like it, except if obviously badly behaved dogs on photo shoots don't go down very well, so it doesn't always work. But that is definitely a thing, and I think men have just seen all this press recently about it doing well, and I think women are attracted to it because of those reasons. But you're thinking it's
There's just when I started to, I sat with a friend of mine probably last year or so, because I was trying to get a really good understanding of like what the most men's dating profile pics look like. So we went through like a bunch of sites with her, like Tinder and Bumble and Hinge. And I was just like, wow, like every other man has a picture of a dog. And I thought to myself, this many men don't own dogs because, you know, cliche, you don't meet too many 30-year-old men with dogs, you know,
who are
single men with a dog
as well.
Yeah,
No,
because
totally.
it's a lot of responsibility, right?
Yeah.
So you're like, wait a minute. So maybe 1 in 5 of these men actually own a dog. So the rest of these dogs are borrowed dogs or stolen dogs or dogs that were just found like in a park
in the moment. Yeah. Now that doesn't work. You're being inauthentic. As soon as if a woman's attracted to you for your relationship with your dog, then and finds out you haven't got a dog, then you're back to that whole "you don't look like you do in your photos" scenario. You're like, okay, you're not trustworthy, are you? What else do you lie about? So it's and that's the thing is, you know, if you're gonna have a dog in a photo, it needs to be your own, and you're in for a major shock if you're using someone else's dog, like, and someone finds out, they're probably not going to message you back. It's just like, oh, okay. Like if they're attracted to you for the dog, you haven't got a dog. And how embarrassing having to go, yeah, no, it's not actually my dog. I mean, you know, that's kind of feels a bit naff to me.
Another question that's popped into me in my head is that I ran a small piece of independent research back in the day of Plenty of Fish, and I had 2 profiles because it allows you to do that if you needed to. And I had one profile that was like, so if we're going about that, like I'd probably traveled a fair bit by then, so I had some decent photos because I had, you know, they weren't amazing photos, but they would have been better than the average photos of some places, me and nice locations and destinations where I've traveled. And inside that bio, I was very clear about the sort of books I read, the sort of music I listen to. You know, when it was Plenty of Fish, you could go to town. Yeah. I had artists in there, questions, the whole 9 yards. And I had a second bio that was me in swim shorts on a beach, and it was a singular photo, right? And the bio probably only had, I don't know, 20 words. It was very, very simple. And I really observed how different women approached me in very different ways with those 2 different bios. Very different ways. It was really interesting. It was like my own personal bit of research. And it kind of went the way you'd expect. You know, the bio that had a lot of detail in it with the photos that matched up with that. I got a lot more kind of intentional messages about what I said. The bio with me in my swim shorts was like, hey, how are you? You look hot, you know, that along those sorts of lines. So the question I have actually is topless photos for men. Bad idea, good idea?
Yeah, actually that was on my list. I was going to say that. So I was actually going to bring that up on my bad idea list, but there's a caveat to that. So we do actually get like men asking for that, but not very often. And if they're in LA and they're into skateboard and they're into surfing, then that's fine. We absolutely do that. Or we have had quite a lot of women in bikinis because we've got like 2 beach locations in LA. So that's, you know, it's basically about context. So if they're really into surfing, they're on the beach, then yeah, go for it, because it's like you're surfing, of course you're going to be topless. So we'll have like men in surfboards with their surfboards on the beach, and we'll have women in bikinis on the beach. If you're in London, however, now women don't actually ask for bikini shots in London, but we have had a fair few guys asking for it, and we usually say no, because it's not, like, the context isn't right unless it's a really hot day. And we will do it if a guy really wants to do it, but I could tell you this for free, they never choose the shot with their topless, because they never look as good as they think they do. I think maybe the whole London background, or, you know, if it's a city, Manchester or even New York, well, we've never had anyone in New York ask for it, but, you know, they never choose that photo. So I would say, like, if they ask, I'm like, yeah, those don't really perform that well unless you're looking for kind of hookups, and I think, and I'll say that as well, but most guys who are coming to us are not looking for hookups, because they don't need us to, they can do what you do, get a beach shot or whatever and use that, and just photos in their bedroom of their abs and things like that. So or the gym selfie, classic gym selfie. So those, guys who are looking for hookups don't tend to come to us. That's not always the case, but generally. And so, they tend to listen to, if they're in London, they'll be like, okay, unless it's a really hot summer's day. But yeah, my experience is they've never chosen their ab shot from their set when they get the set back. So it never quite looks as good as they hoped.
Interesting, because I've always had the same. I've come to see my opinion of the kind of topless shot, especially the topless gym selfie, is always a no. Just if you're a listener and you're listening to this and you're wondering because we weren't clear, the topless gym selfie is always a no. It's always a no. There's never a yes. There's never a time where you're like, should I use the topless gym selfie? No, it's always no.
Unless you're on Grindr, you're gay. I think those kind of work really well. But yeah, if you're straight, I think women are not feeling that vibe. Yeah. They might look, enjoy, but probably move on because they're thinking, I'm not sure about this. I think it's something you kind of associate with like young guys who are on the pull and stuff like that. And then it's, women who want to settle down are thinking, no, I'll enjoy it, looking at it maybe, but no.
I think we'll caveat everything we said is that we're assuming that you want a deep and meaningful relationship, right? I mean, what we're saying is you're looking for something meaningful, you're looking for something connected. Like if you are just looking to hook up, then that picture sometimes has its value. I've even really spoke to women about this quite a bit through Instagram, and even a number of them have said, even if they just want to sleep with someone casually, they're still looking for him to present himself in a certain way. Yeah. And I find that quite interesting because a lot of men you speak to don't realize that that's still the case, that they still need to present themselves as they are. They don't need, like, this idea that if you just want to have lots of casual sex, that someone's just looking for someone who's good looking and has a nice body and that's enough. It isn't enough. We've gone past that stage. We've gone past that stage in online dating, I think, because there's enough. I keep thinking of this Chris Rock. Is it Chris Rock? And he's talking about, can I say this? Yeah, I can say this. He's saying that, a woman walks down the street and there's just dick flying at her everywhere. It's coming from all angles all the time. There's dick here, there's dick there, it's always coming her way. And that's the truth. So for most women, even if they just want to have casual sex or one night stands, they still are looking for some substance behind it. So just having your topless selfie with no bio isn't necessarily going to cut in and get you what you want.
Yeah, I think that's really true. I think like for women, sleeping with someone, and that's great. But you want to be able to talk to someone as well about something. There's something very, off-putting if you can't connect with them at all. Then I think for women it's harder to connect with them sexually if you're not connected with them on some level, like mentally. So yeah, I would agree with that.
I'm wondering, one of the questions I have actually, what are some odd requests in terms of types of photos that you've had?
We don't get that many odd requests. I think, sadly, probably people don't put that much thought into it, if you see what I mean, which is obviously not ideal because we want people to really figure out like who they are and what they want their photos to say. But quite often people are like, busy, life, work, blah, blah, blah. And they just kind of want to rock up and just have their photos taken. But that, we have had odd requests. And I would say one of the oddest came from a woman who wanted to bring her dead parrot. And she did bring her stuffed parrot along. And yeah, that was pretty hard because to be fair, she was an older lady, but that was really hard. The photographer really had to pull that one out of the bag because like pirates comes to like, it was kind of a crazy request. And she did flag it up with me beforehand, and I did kind of say, well, I'm not sure how this will be perceived on dating apps and things like that, but I'm sure the photographer will work with you, but what is it you're actually trying to say with this dead parrot? Anyway, she didn't have many shots with it, but she did want like one or two. So yeah, I mean, that by far for me was the weirdest, you know, and like I said before, like there's no judgment. Like I'm very keen that Hey Saturday, you know, because everyone's different and we're, you know, and that's what makes us special. And we're very much about encouraging people to share what makes them stand out from the crowd, because that's the problem with dating apps, is everyone just does the same. Everyone's just like, you know, everyone's doing this, so I'm going to do this. And actually, this is the time when you need to really be standing out and telling people, this is what's different about me. This is, you know, this is why you should date me, because I'm this special person. I'm not like everybody else. I'm different. And I think, so we try and encourage people to do that. And I think it's hard for people to do that, especially on camera. It's like I say, this tribe mentality, but you want to belong and not be different. And so that's why it's quite important that we kind of have this like no judgment, you know, so strange requests come up. You know, I try not to see them as strange requests, but I try to see them as, this is this person revealing something quite authentic about themselves, and I need to encourage that in you know, as much as I can, but also letting them know how that might be perceived. Because I think, like I said to you before, and like you mentioned, is a lot of people, I think, don't really say to themselves, how's my photo gonna be perceived? How is someone going to feel when they see my photo? What they're going to think when they see my photo? But we have plenty of these thoughts and feelings when we're looking at other people's, but we don't seem to apply that to our own. It's like we're living in this kind of strange world of, well, I can do what I want and it's fine, but like I'm going to judge all these people over here because they're doing that, and you know, and so we live kind of in that space. So it's really good if, when people are planning their photo, which photos to use, and planning to put them together, that they kind of think about, well, how do I want to make them feel, and what do I want to make them think, and that's kind of really important. And I think, yeah, like when I started Hey Saturday, like I said, we were very focused on the kind of visual element, like making them visually compelling. So like how the photo's framed, you're a photographer, how you frame the photo, like the use of color, because that makes, you know, bold color stand out, and then making the person look really hot in the photo as well. All very important stuff. But I would say now, like in the last 5 years, the shift has been more as well about how you make them feel, and the kind of the story that you're telling people about yourself. So I feel like Hey Saturday's been in this journey where it was very focused on, like, we want to make you look really amazing, and we want it to be high quality, we want it to be bold, powerful, strong images. But now, like in the last 5 years or so, there's been a much more stronger storytelling element where we're encouraging people to think about what they want their photos to say about them, and like reveal who they are and make people feel something positive. So we want people, like on our Instagram, I say the happiest photo shoots on earth or something like that under our bio, because for me, like when clients are having their photos taken, if they're feeling really like fun and happy, like their photos look more joyful and look more positive, and then people are starting to feel good when they look at the photos. And that's what you want. You don't want people to look at your photos and go, oh, he looks really sad, or, you know, he looks a bit depressed, or like, you know, that's not going to work. You want people to go, oh my God, he looks like he's got a great life, you know. And I think the ideal dating photos for me are ones that say, I love my life, but it'd be even better with you in it, because that is kind of in a nutshell what you want your photos to say. Now, what you can say is, like, most clients might say, well, my life's shit, so how does that work? But I think if your life's really shit, then you shouldn't be dating, basically. You should be seeing a coach first. You need to, you know, if you're obviously, no one's life's perfect or anything, but if you're coming to have a dating photo shoot and you're starting online dating, but there's massive areas in your life you're not happy about, then your photo shoot's not going to be great and your dating experiences aren't going to be great. It's as simple as that. And I'm always honest, because I'll get emails from clients before they book, and it'll be like, oh, this happened, that's happened in my life, blah blah blah, but I want a photo shoot. And I'm gonna go, no, like, I think you need to look at these issues, or, you know, why don't you wait until you've sorted some of that out and you're feeling happier in yourself? We can't make you happy, like in your photos, if you're then going to go home and be miserable, and then when you go on a date, you're not going to be like that happy person in the photos. It needs to be genuine, you know. And so it's quite, you know, I'm quite honest about that sort of thing, because I think it's really important. Like, if you're not in a good place, don't date and don't have a photo shoot. and yeah, like I said, nobody's life's perfect, but you need to be feeling fairly good about yourself. And the better you feel about yourself, obviously the better your photos, and obviously the better the dating experiences are that you have. I mean, I guess you must have experience of, like, with the clients that you're kind of working with, when they're not in a good space, a headspace, you probably say to them, whoa, let's slow down, let's work on this before you head out dating. So that's why I am so pleased there's so many dating coaches out there now, because rewind back to the early days when I launched, it wasn't even a thing, really. Well, yeah, it was very uncommon. And I think for me, like, the dating apps certainly weren't interested in providing that kind of support. I work with a lot of matchmakers, actually, and the matchmakers have always been really good at that, like giving that kind of 360-degree support to their clients. But the dating apps, there's this massive gap. You'd have people using dating apps but miserable as sin, and, you know, just like using crap photos. I hate dating, I hate online dating, all the good ones are taken, blah blah blah. Like, in what world is that going to be a good experience for you or for the people you're seeing? Like, it's, you know. And so it's so good that these kind of, so many dating coaches are now filling that space and going, whoa, you know, you're not ready yet. Slow down. Because that's really important for us. I mean, I know when we've done a photo shoot with someone, because I sign off all the photos, and I know when we've done a photo shoot with someone who's not in a good place, and it's kind of like, I feel like, you know, it would have been great if you checked in with me before you booked, but, you know, obviously not everyone does. And yeah, but they'll probably have to come back when they're feeling in a better place. And we always give them a discount when they come back, so, you know, if they come back.
That's good. Because it's interesting though, because we rarely see our lives as it is, because we're inside of our life, right? So often,
yeah,
you know, something I get with clients, they come to me and they're like, oh, you know, I want to date, and they're feeling a bit miserable about dating, they're feeling a bit unhappy about dating. They're like, you know, dating's rubbish and no one's out there, blah blah blah. And like you said, I might strip it back a few layers and I start going, okay, so what's your life look like? What are you doing in your life? We start in that place of like, what brings you joy? What makes you happy? What are you doing that makes you happy? And that investigation for me is always really interesting, because we have a habit sometimes of looking at our life from the worst possible angle, because we're inside our mind as well, right? We're inside our mind and we're inside our life. So we are looking at everything through the lens of, we're not good enough. You know, we have some dysfunctional beliefs that we've been carrying around all our life. And often I'm just going, okay, so you got this job. How's your job going? Really well, actually. My boss says I'm really good and I keep getting promoted. Okay, do you enjoy your job? Yeah, I actually really enjoy my job. Okay, cool. And when you start piecing these things in front of someone and going, okay, so this, and they kind of lay it out on the table and go, this is actually your life. They go, oh, my life's all right, actually, isn't it? Like, oh, I do a lot of things I enjoy. And that thing over there, like, okay, I don't like my cousin, actually, and we don't get along very well. And when I spend time with them, I don't enjoy myself very much. I'll be like, do you need to see your cousin? No, I don't actually. I can stop seeing them. Okay, we'll remove that thing you don't enjoy. And then suddenly they're like, oh, actually, my life's quite good. I'm not in such a bad place. I could probably date from a good place and then start to go from that place. So I imagine that a lot of people come to you and they can't really see their lives in any kind of positive manner, because they're so deep into their life and they're only looking at the problems, that they're unable to really say, oh, these are the things I really love doing. These are the places that I really like to go. Even like these are outfits that I really like to wear. It would be a struggle from that place.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So what we do with our clients is when they book a shoot, what they get is our welcome pack, which goes into lots of stuff. But most importantly, they get this questionnaire, like a pre-shoot questionnaire, which is really an opportunity for them to sit down and get pen and paper, except it's on a computer, and start writing about the things that are important to them. So it's doing exactly that. but on their own, really. It's just trying to get them to pause, step out of their life, because like if they could, they just rock up for the shoot with no prep like whatsoever, I think, because nobody's got time for anything. And I'm like, no, you need to do this. And you sit down and the questions are things like, what's inspiring you right now? What do you love about yourself right now? What makes you stand out from other people? What really matters to you? What do you want your photos to say about you? So questions like that, there's about 10 of them, and I make them sit down and write it. And the good thing is their photographer gets to read all those things, so their photographer will have a good idea of who they're about to meet, because literally our clients could be anyone. And the process of them doing that, a lot of people will come back and go, that was really hard. So that's not a good sign, because that means you're really not in tune with kind of where you're at. And other people really love the process. But it's such an important step, because until you do that, like what are your photos saying about you? You know, I think people don't realize that photos, like photography, is an incredibly important, powerful way to get a message across about you. And if you don't take control of that, people are thinking things and feeling things that you're not in control of. So they're probably going to be negative things, right? If you're just not even putting any thought. But the minute you start thinking like, okay, what do I want my photos to say? So I'm really into, so I mean, I've given myself as an example, like even in the last 2 years, if I think about like pre-COVID, what my dating photos would be like versus now, they'd be very different beasts. And I think it's really interesting for people to think about that, try and start thinking visually, because I mean, obviously we're photographers, so it's probably easier for us, but if you could start kind of envisaging, well, my life is like this, how can I make that, how can I capture that in a visual way? So I think pre-COVID, I would say I was very engrossed. I was very much about Hey Saturday and like work. I remember my therapist saying, so what do you do for fun, Saskia? And me kind of looking at him going, like fun. Well, I run my business, obviously. And he's like, yeah, but do you do anything else really? And I was like, yeah, I do like Muay Thai boxing, and I see my friends, and and so my dating photos back then would have been very focused on me with a camera. I love photography, so shooting photos, me like maybe on a laptop, me with my boxing gloves, and that probably would have been my visual, I like certain, I like kind of Adidas clothes, and I'm massively into trainers, so I'd probably put that in there as well, like thinking visually, I need to get that side of my personality across. And I would have gone somewhere bright and cheerful, like probably Shoreditch, because like I love the colours, I love the street art. It was very me. I'm very urban. But me now is a very different beast. I guess through lockdown and George Floyd and things like that, I've changed so much, and I think a lot of people probably have. And I think my dating photos would be more maybe like I'm into forest bathing now. Like I don't see myself quite as that urban girl. I spend half my life in Spain now as well, and it's on the coast, and it's a very different vibe to Battersea where I live when I'm in London, which is central London vibes. And I love this side of me now, and I never saw myself like that. And so suddenly my photos are going to be like me, like maybe in a forest, or with some trees, and maybe doing some meditating. Also, I've taken up painting, and I draw on my iPad now, and never did that before. That's totally come out of lockdown. And so it might be me painting, and like the very, my photos. And also now I dance, I never dance, so suddenly my photos are a very different beast. And I think if people start thinking like that, you can start seeing how well I've changed a lot. So what would my photos say about me now? And hopefully you are changing, because we should be growing and changing all the time, hopefully, at least to some extent. So I think thinking about who you are and how you've grown and how you can visually kind of represent that. I still love trainers, so I get those in there. Some things don't change at all. I think it's kind of, for me, it's kind of like the idea of going, well, how would I visually represent myself? I found that quite an interesting challenge. And I always try and get our clients to see their photo shoot as a challenge rather than a chore. Because I think if you're coming at it as a chore that needs to be done in order for you to find dates or meet people, much like creating your bio. It's like, oh, this chore I've got to get through. Well, that kind of comes off in what you're doing. The minute you go, okay, this is a challenge. What am I going to do? How am I going to do this? Get excited about it. I've got interesting things going on in my life. Like you said, like you get someone to write down like all the things they've achieved or whatever. And that's also really good for confidence building, as I'm sure you know with your clients. Like if you want to build your confidence, you need to have a look and see what you've achieved. And you need to like celebrate yourself for that. And you need to go, oh my God, yeah. And I think the secret to confidence as well is, and I saw this in Mark Manson, but I really liked it. He says confidence is basically knowing that you have enough or that you are enough for a specific situation. So if you go into your photo shoot going, oh, I'm not cool enough, I'm not hot enough, I'm not rich enough, I'm not, then you're not going to be confident. But if you go, do you know what? I've got everything I need. I've done my prep. I'm a cool person. Look at everything I've achieved. I can do this. Then it's a completely different kind of vibe. So yeah, I think the idea of kind of figuring out who you are, working with a coach is such a great thing to do before you have your photo shoot. So if any of you are thinking about having a coach and a photo shoot, definitely do it in that order. And just spend a bit of time. It's so important to get to know yourself if you want to have good dates and have good connections. And so the more work that you put into figuring out who you are, then the better your photos are going to be and the better your dates are going to be. And it's really exciting, I think, doing that. So the question is, what would your dating photos look like right now if you were doing it?
Wow, yeah. God, it sounds like my photos wouldn't be too different to your past photos of working a lot. My photos would definitely be an image probably taken from that side, because out that way behind the camera where no one really sees is like the hills of Madeira. So I'd probably
I love that.
There'd be a shot of me there. There'd probably be a shot of me
with
meditating.
the microphone or something.
Yeah,
that would be good. Yeah. This is
some meditating. I do visit I don't necessarily visit the beach much here, but I do. Yeah, there's times I meditate. I still travel. I still hit the beach sometimes and just relax there. God, yeah. What would be
You're really struggling now. That's what happens when you're working all the time. But I mean, that's maybe that's okay. It's about being authentic, isn't it? Right? You can't portray that you're doing all these other things when in reality all you're doing is grafting, because if someone's attracted to you because of all this stuff you've got going on in your life, and then they meet you and the reality is all you do is work 24/7, not that I'm saying you do, but while you're doing this, it's important to be authentic. Reading. I mean, choosing a book to have in your photo, I think is really simple but powerful way to send a message to someone or to connect with someone, because if you conclude your favorite book, anyone who's into that book is going to connect with you or find a reason to email on your email site. I love that sort of thing. Like the more specific you can get in your photos, then you're giving people a reason to connect with you. Because I think one of the biggest things about online dating is like connecting with, like, what do you write to them? It's like, hey, with 5 Ys, how you doing? It's like, it's really hard. You've got to think of different things for every person you come across. But if there's something in the photos that grabs your attention, like we call them talking point photos. Like if you can include a talking point photo, brilliant. And it doesn't have to be complicated. Like I said, it could just be your favorite book, or it could be something a little bit controversial, or if you're into some weird martial art, like something that represents that. So people are like, huh, what's going on there? There's so many things. It's, but if you can't think of anything, then maybe your life needs an overhaul. I don't know.
yeah. I'm thinking back to you mentioned trainers, and it's funny, when I'm in London, I have an extensive trainer collection, which, funny enough, when I was on online dating, it's something I always had in my profile, because I had
trainers.
I had like 120 pairs at one point.
My God, I love it. Brilliant.
And it used to be a real talking point. Women would be like, why have you got 120 pairs of trainers? I'd be like, well, actually, and I could explain, like, there was some that I've still probably got trainers now that are probably going on 15 or so years old. Like I got
Oh,
special
hell
edition
yeah.
ones, like all sorts. And, you know, it's always been something that's part, well, not always, but definitely for the last kind of 15, 20 years, part of my life. So that's probably something to be in there. And travel's really
You
always
see,
been important
any
to me.
girl who was into trainers, like, so someone like me would be all over that, like, oh my
Yeah.
God, love this guy, totally into trainers, and would just straight away just be going, oh, have you seen, you know, the Nike Air Max, blah, 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 you know, and so there's straight away, there's a connection. And then for other girls, it's just a point of interest. What's with the trainers? And so it's you can start a conversation like off the back of that, and it's easy. You didn't have to do anything other than include something you love in the shot. And actually that is one of my most important tips, I think, is like when you're struggling, when you're thinking about how am I going to do these photos, if you think about like bringing stuff that you love, either doing or, you know, that you have that you love, bring it into the shoot with you. So like if you we can try and encourage people to actually do something they love, because then people get into flow, or almost into flow, as much as into flow as you can when you've got a camera in your face. And for people that could be drawing, it could be cycling, it could be warming up for a run, it could be doing a yoga pose. And then once people start doing things they love, they kind of really get into it. They're laughing. They're like, oh, I love, you know, it's something I love, so I feel good. And they start to become more genuine, more authentic, I think, in how they portray themselves, because they're literally, or it might just be holding something they love. Like, I don't know, like my boxing gloves. I love my boxing gloves, but you know, I just love them. And so if I was holding them, straight away, I'd feel really good about myself, and I feel powerful, because for me, those represent me at my fittest and my most powerful, and you know, and confident, I would say. So like if I held my gloves, that changes my demeanor totally. I'm like, suddenly I'm on fire, you know, and that sort of thing's really kind of important. So yeah, definitely holding something you love. And also I think a lot of times when people arrive on a shoot, like literally one of the first questions they'll say is, what do I do with my hands? Like when they're standing in front of a camera, you suddenly become really self-conscious, and you're like, oh, my hands, like you've never seen them before. What are these hands for? And so the minute you hold something, like gloves, anything you love, your body just relaxes, and you're like, I feel at home again now. It's okay. I know what to do with my hands. I'm going to hold my gloves. I'm going to wrap my hands for my boxing, or, you know, I'm going to hold my yoga mat or whatever. And suddenly your body just relaxes. So I think that's always like a really good tip as well.
Something in your hands. I like that. I like that one. It's funny, as he's been speaking now, I'm like, oh yeah, so like I do yoga 3 times a week, and I run, I do breath work regularly.
There we go.
It's really easy. And I have like loads of plants. Like there's only one that you can see here, but there's like, again, in my place in London, there was like, when I was moving out, I had like 13 plants that I had to find homes for.
Whoa.
Really
plants
tricky.
are the latest thing. Plant dads are the hottest thing right now. Yeah. On
so
the
do you get them to bring their plants with them so they can take pictures with the plants?
We have had, like, we had a guy in LA who brought a load of plants with him, and I thought that is actually quite LA. I love that. That is like, you know, he just brought a load of plants with him, but he's really into them. He, you know, it's something very close to his heart. So yeah, they were great shots. So again, it's like, if you're that into your plants, bring them. But for most people, that's quite a big ask.
I think the thing that's really coming out is that we look at photos, to the untrained eye. People look at photos and think it's just a visual thing. It's just something you look at. But actually, it's the emotion. It's what emotion is evoked, not through just looking at it, but also being in the photo. So as you said, like when you hold your gloves, you feel powerful, you feel confident. And people will look at the photo, and our brains, even though most people can't consciously look at a person's face and go, that's a confident face. Our brains are recognizing it behind the scenes.
They know, your brains know. Yeah.
Exactly as you said, I think earlier, about trustworthy eyes. Like when we can see someone's whole face and their face is relaxed, a smile, for instance, makes us feel safer, right? That's one of the big reasons why it's so important to have pictures of a smile, because people feel safe with people who smile, because when someone's smiling, you know that their nervous system, everything's okay in their nervous system. Things are calm and relaxed and okay.
Exactly.
And that makes us feel the same. So it's going beyond, for a lot of people, it's going beyond just going, oh, this is a photo of me that shows me full length, so that's good, to what am I feeling as this photo has been taken? What will someone look at this photo and feel? It's like taking things to the kind of next level.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you really want to understand how photos can make you feel something, I would Google something like black joy and look at the images that come up there. And quite often when I'm feeling down about race and stuff like that, I'll just Google black joy, and you look at these photos and they're just incredible and powerful, and you just feel the joy. And and it doesn't lie. Photos make people feel things. They're connecting with you on an emotional level. And I think, like you said, most people don't realize that, but when you start looking at photos that do contain things like joy, you can start to understand how you can replicate that in your own photos. So, the minute you throw your head back and laugh, or you dance in the street, or, you're just so relaxed and happy in the moment of your shot, people feel that. They see it, they feel it, they know it. And so I think that is why we try to make our photo shoots like the most fun like they can be. Even though you're on a photo shoot with a stranger, it's like you can still have fun with it, because the minute you start having fun and relaxing and smiling, like genuine smiles, not fake ones, and just like enjoy yourself, that is what is going to be seen by the people looking at it. And I think as well, it's really, when I said about the boxing gloves and how that's quite transformative in terms of how I felt, the same as with clothes. So clothes are very transformative in how you feel about yourself, and that's so important. So even if they may not like what you're wearing necessarily, if you've chosen something that makes you feel really confident and gorgeous and whatever, that's going to come across, and that's what you want. So, we always say to people, like, bring your hot first date outfit, for example. What is that killer outfit that you'd wear if you want to go on maybe a second date, the one where you like the girl, but you really want to reel her in? What's that outfit? And if you don't know, you need to go shopping, because you need to know what that outfit is, and you need to wear that on your photo shoot. And that outfit's going to make you feel shit hot, like I am on fire right now. And that is so powerful, because the photographer can't give that feeling. It's coming from inside you. But something as simple as an outfit or a pair of boxing gloves or whatever can give you that feeling. And so that's really exciting. You can take back some of this control and go, okay, I want to turn up and I want to feel excited. I want to bring this energy with me that's like happy and powerful and confident and whatever. How am I going to do that? Right, I'm going to do it through clothes. I'm going to do it through bringing stuff I love. I'm going to come with an experimental mindset. I'm going to go with the flow. All these things will really kind of help you just show up and go with it. And I think once you do that, you can start, you start creating like some amazing photos. Sadly, not everyone does that, but when they do, it's magic.
Opportunity.
It's a great opportunity. Yeah, take it.
I got one last question that popped into my head, actually. Where is dating photography going now? Or maybe even it's moving past photography, but where is it? Because maybe you said earlier, 5 years ago, there was a shift into feeling. Where do you see dating profile photography going in the future?
That's a really good question. I mean, and one that I ask myself a lot, obviously, because, of the nature of the business, I'm always like, the dating world changes so much so quickly. Like how much longer is dating photography going to be a thing? Is it, don't know. And so for years I've had my eye on the video dating world, and like, is that ever going to take off? I've had loads of apps, like I've seen loads of apps around video dating coming and going, and they're still out there. And it kind of makes sense that would be the next kind of iteration, because of just how much video content, like everyone's obsessed with reels and TikToks and things like that. So it kind of makes sense to me that is where it's going to go. But I think there's still a need for photos, especially amongst older people. But I think people probably aren't going to want to invest watching videos until they've actually seen someone. So I still think there's going to be a role for photos for a while, at least. Even if you go into the metaverse, when we start metaverse dating, you're still going to want to see someone very quickly and get a really good idea. So for me, may almost be reduced to one photo or one or two that have so much like that are really just tell so much within that photo about who you are, and it's kind of all condensed into, you know, you pull out the most important things you want to say about yourself and get that across. I feel like, but I you know, I think for my lifetime of working anyway, I've not got that much longer ahead of me, but before I retire, hopefully one day. But I think there's still going to be a need for dating photos while I'm around. But at some point, yeah, metaverse, you know, the metaverse, I think people are going to be dating. I think that's quite an exciting way to date, actually, at the beginning. Obviously, not. I think it's nice to be able to feel like you're dating someone from the comfort of your lounge, and experience what it'd be like to actually go on a date with them in a more kind of real way. I think for a first date, I think that's perfect. Or a second date, even you might do a call, then and then a first date where you're doing it, because I think, you know, it's otherwise so much money gets spent, and, you know, actually physically getting up and going out on a date with someone, it requires a lot of money, you know, and a time, and then and emotion. I think people allow too much emotion in as well in those first, because you're actually getting up and going into meeting someone, you're invested in them to a certain degree. Whereas if you're meeting people, and I think investing too much emotion up front is not a good idea, personally. I think don't start rolling out the emotion until there's a real connection happening. Otherwise, you just end up on this roller coaster of, you know, highs and lows, which is going to happen anyway, but you can just kind of, you know, save your heart a little bit by reeling it in. But yeah, I think metaverse dating for a first or second date is going to be good. But I think there's going to be a role for photos, and I think there'll probably be, I don't know, I would say less photos, but you need some, and then we'll go on to video content. Once you've seen that you like the look of them, you'll then click onto some video content. That's how I imagine it going. So the next iteration of Saskia of Hey Saturday is going to be doing video clips at some point.
I kind of see, and maybe this is something, that was my last question, but something I'm really seeing more and more now is like, and this started many years ago, was how the role that one's social media presence plays as like an extension to your dating profile, that I think a lot of people really overlook the importance of, say, because like a number of the dating apps allow you to put your Instagram account in. So you put your Instagram account in and people click through, right? And I know this to be true. People click through because they're like, okay, I've seen these photos. This person looks interesting. Maybe they've even matched at this point. And they're like, but what does the rest of their life look like? What does their life really look like? What's really going on in their life? And I've seen and spoken to many people who are like, oh, when I got to their Instagram photo, I unmatched them, you know? And it's that part of video plus still the photography and even writing, right? When we talk about captions, starts to play a really important role, because those 5 or 6 pictures, you now need to have a life that backs up those, which goes really in line with what you've been talking about. It's like, you know, bringing yourself, bringing who you are, you know, the stuff that you do with yourself. So maybe there is a small package there for, like, you can provide a whole social media package of helping with reels and photography and creative writing for posts.
There's definitely going to be a gap for that, I think. Yeah. Whether I'm going to fill it or not, I don't know. But yeah. But yeah, that's really interesting what you say about like the kind of the Instagram backing it up. I think when you go to something like Instagram, you've got the people who've really got it nailed, haven't you? You've got the people who are really good at curating their life and, you know, having amazing photos, and those aren't going to be probably our clients, or certainly probably not going to be my clients. And then you have the rest of the world who are like, they hate being on video, they hate being on camera, and their Instagrams might be, I don't know, like just, yeah, real random stuff. So I think maybe not including your Instagram link at that point, maybe if it's not really backing up or saying what you want it to say. Because also the other thing is people can scroll back years, can't they? It's like, yeah. What else have you got? You're revealing quite a lot potentially. You know, past relationships, like, oh god, all sorts. So yeah. But yeah, definitely a role.
Get really messy.
Could get very messy.
Oh man, yeah. I've heard some through some of my clients. I've heard some real horror stories of people they've dated who have then scrolled through their Instagram and got into that kind of crazy thing of like, who's this person? Or, you know, why have you still got a picture of your ex-girlfriend from 5 years ago on Instagram? You know, those sorts of questions that get into there,
God.
you know, which is, as any listeners here, let me just put this very clearly to you. If you're dating someone and they look for your Instagram and they do one of the following things. First of all, they look through who you've been liking and they take umbrage to anything you've been liking.
Oh my
if they
God.
look through your personal photos,
oh Jesus,
look through your personal photos and ask you and question you why you're in photos with people from 4, 5, 6 years ago, you need to leave.
Yeah. Cut, leave, next.
Get out of there.
That sounds hellish. Oh my God. Yeah. That's not acceptable behavior.
No.
Very controlling.
No.
Can I just ask, do you think your clients are ready for the metaverse dating world? Or do you think, you know, no, it's kind of.
No, I think the thing with the metaverse is there's a kind of this weird thing with technology that when people, it's like, as you get older, you start adopting less new technology. I think unless you need to for work or you have a special interest, people adopt less new technology. And crypto is a slightly weird one because people will adopt that because it's money and there can be money made from it, you know?
Yeah.
But, so you're going to, my assumption will be you'll find younger people will just get on it because it's part of, it's normal.
That's just normal. It's normal.
Yeah. It's a bit like if you look at something like TikTok, like I just can't get down with TikTok because I'm not that interested in video content, to be honest. I'm not that, I don't really want to make it that much because it's time consuming and stuff like that. Whereas I've got younger sisters who are, you know, 10 or so years younger than me, and I've got a younger brother who's 20 odd years younger than me, and they're all over it.
It's just normal. Yeah.
So they'll adopt
so
the
true.
metaverse as a dating strategy.
Yeah, I think that's so true. Like, that's why I'm not worried about Hey Saturday going out of business anytime soon, because there's so many people become single as divorcees, or they've just not met anyone, and they're 40s, 50s, 60s. We have 70-year-olds as well, and they ain't going anywhere. They're like, dating photos or bust, and that for them is a huge thing still, like just having their dating photos done. So there's no way they're going to be doing video dating or metaverse dating or anytime soon. And I think that's absolutely fine. I want to be there for them because I can relate.
I think that's something we overlook often with dating is as if dating ends when you kind of hit like 35 or something, when actually there's a very growing
busier.
There's a very growing pool of people dating in like their 50s and 60s who either divorced or partners have passed away or for whatever reason.
Yeah, and 70s now. We're getting a lot in our 70s now. Yeah,
really? Awesome.
Which is, and I'm so like proud of them almost, because I'm just like, that is a big deal when you're that age. It feels like it. Yeah. And yet they're up for it, you know. So I think that's fantastic. But yeah, they're probably not up for metaverse dating. Yeah, you never know. I think I'd be interested in metaverse dating if I was single, but I don't think I would solely want to do that. I'd just like be interested. Like, I want to be curious about it. But I think I'd probably stick with the apps.
Yeah. Saskia, it's been a wonderful conversation as always. It was fun and weaves into many different directions.
Yeah, sorry about the metaverse dating. I'm just interested in what you thought. Yeah.
No, it's a great question, because I think it's something that we're not, you know, I think from a dating world point of view is something that almost, like from dating coaches and stuff, they almost don't want to start thinking about it, because there's always that worry that if this new thing comes along, it makes me obsolete. But you know, it's a bit like,
no, it makes you more. They're going to need you more. Like, God's sake, get them ready to start doing that. They're going to need you more. Trust me.
It's like matchmaking agencies probably thought, oh no, when apps come along, that's going to destroy us. When actually,
but no, there's a massive market.
Strong.
Yeah, everyone's different. Some people need more things. Yeah, definitely.
Awesome. Well, I'm sure the listeners are finding out how they can come and book a shoot with Hey Saturday, and hear more from you on Instagram and the many wonderful places on social media.
Yeah, I'm at heysaturday.co on the web and also on Instagram. So come and check me out. 10% discount if anyone wants to book. Just let me know. I can give you a voucher code.
Awesome.
That's not a problem.
Awesome. Well,
people, thank you so much for having me. That has been fun.
You're welcome. People, you've heard the importance of dating photos here. So, you're probably maybe looking at yours and thinking you need to brush up on them, and maybe you need to book yourself a shoot. And it's very much worthwhile. I think it's something Saskia said earlier, is like, you have to really think about your dating photos as your shop window to you finding the love of your life, potentially, if that's what you're looking for. Now, I always ask my clients this question when we talk about dating photos: how much is it worth to you to find a wonderful human being to spend your life with? How much is it worth to you? Like, really sit, get a pen, get a pad, start putting some numbers down, right? Because when you consider the cost of booking a shoot to have photos taken, I'm sure that number of the price of the shoot pales in significance to the worth it is to you to find the person you really want to. And it's cost versus value discussion that we don't have very well in our minds.
I mean, I always think it's like going to be one of the most important things you do in your life, really, because you're hopefully going to be spending your life with this person and you want to get it right. So yeah, for me, it's like it's a no brainer, really. It's like the most important thing, one of the most important things you're going to do, right up there, top 3, top 2. Yeah,
exactly. So if you've learned anything from this episode as well, something that you are able to maybe apply to your dating photos, your dating life, please feel free to reach out to myself or Saskia. I'm sure we would love to hear what you've taken away and what you've been able to implement in your life. It's always interesting to hear those messages from people through the weeks and days. And
any questions as well, drop me a line, slide into my DMs, whatever. I'll be up for that.
Slide me DMs and ask me about dating photos. But yeah, go for it. We are open and available for conversation.
Yeah, definitely.
All right. Well, thank you, Saskia. Thank you for wonderful knowledge and enthusiasm as well.
Thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you. And listeners, hope you have a wonderful week. And I say ciao, ciao.